Good evening, welcome. Hi everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the 13th Edgewood High School Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I'm Sandy McMichael, proud principal of this great school, and I want to first express my gratitude to the Edgewood High School Alumni Association, whose idea it was 14 years ago to initiate a Hall of Fame at Edgewood High. Not only to honor outstanding former students, but to recognize extraordinary former staff members and those in the community who have contributed so much to our school in the 70 years it has now been in existence. In addition, the Hall of Fame was established to create a cadre of role models for current students, staff, and the community, demonstrating the excellence of individuals who have been a part of the Edgewood High School story. With our induction today, we will have 94 individuals and one family of siblings in the Edgewood High Hall of Fame. Our staff and students get to see the plaques of those individuals on the first floor hallway every day as they make their way to and from classes. We are thrilled to have with us on stage 8 Hall of Fame members, 5 of whom you'll meet shortly, as they help you get to know this year's inductees. To my right, we have Edgewood High School Alumni Association founding president Helen Morrison, Hall of Fame 2011, and Alumni Association President Karen Carey, Hall of Fame 2017, along with our MC for the evening, Nadine Wellington, Hall of Fame 2012. Can we just give them a real quick round of applause? In just a few moments, we will have additional people introducing our inductees, and at that time, you'll get to know each of them a little bit better as well. I want to thank Ms. Carey for, once again, putting together the slideshow that will help you get to know our new inductees as they are being introduced. You had the opportunity to hear our talented string quartet musicians on your way into the auditorium and as you were waiting for the program to begin this evening. And now, members of our equally talented chamber choir, under the direction of Mr. Tristan Donica, will help us honor our country. You are invited to stand as our students provide their rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner. So if you give them just a minute, they will make their way up on the stage, and then we will be ready to go.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
On Friday, thanks to the efforts of the Edgewood High School Alumni Association, the 5th annual Bud Coakley Weed Bradley Scholarship Golf Tournament will be held at Geneva Farm Golf Course, with proceeds benefiting the 2 scholarship funds, the Hall of Fame, and other projects undertaken by the Alumni Association to benefit the school. Now it is my great honor to help you meet, formally, our MC for the evening ceremonies. Nadine Haas Wellington is a 1972 honored graduate of Edgewood High School, whose life work has been inspiring young people as a teacher and a school principal. She was among those selected in the second group of Hall of Fame inductees in 2012. Please welcome Mrs. Nadine Wellington.
Well, isn't this a great night? Yes, it is. And I heard that young lady hit that note that I used to be able to hit a long time ago. That was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed the national anthem. Well, the Edgewood High School Alumni Association has supported the school we love in countless ways, including the presentation of annual scholarships, fundraising festivities, and dozens of other projects, all aimed at honoring the legacy of our school community. When this beautiful building opened in 2010, members of the Alumni Association approached the school administration about the concept of a Hall of Fame to honor former alumni, former staff, and community supporters whose lives have been models of achievement and giving back. Edgewood High's administration still strongly supports the Hall of Fame, and for that, we would like to take a moment to thank Principal McMichael and her amazing, talented, dedicated staff. More importantly, what the Alumni Association want to do for today's students is to inspire and encourage by the legacies that we have with us today, and with 94 people total. They want our kids to know what's possible, they want to offer hope, and they want to help make a difference. So, I'm going to be introducing quite a few people to you tonight because we're honored to have with us today elected officials and government leaders representing the Board of Education and returning Edgewood High School Hall of Fame members. You're going to be hearing a lot of names, I know that, and what you might ask yourself is, what's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. Now, William Shakespeare uses this line in his play, Romeo and Juliet, to convey that the meaning of names is irrelevant. I disagree. Every day, each of us strives to live up to our names. So bear with me as I read a bevy of names today, because each honoree, dignitary, and special guest deserves the right to be recognized and appreciated. I'm going to ask that you hold your applause. I'll lead you in that once I've read a group of names. First, they have been here every year as greeters. Please welcome back from the first graduating class of Edgewood High School, the class of 1958, Mrs. Janice Cullum and Mrs. Joanne Scarborough. Ladies, please stand. Now I want you to meet again our returning Hall of Fame members. Whether on stage or in the audience, would you please stand when I say your name and the year in which you were inducted, and remain standing, and please face the camera, in the back of the room. Once I've called all of their names, then we can join together in applause. First, from the inaugural Hall of Fame class of 2011, Mrs. Helen Morrison and retired Admiral Rick Porterfield, Ms. Carol Barker, Mr. Chuck Marzin, Mr. Paul Metzger, Dr. Carl Roberts, Mr. Howard McComas III, Mr. Bob Williams. From the class of 2012, Scott Elliott and me, yours truly, Nadine Wellington. From the class of 2013, Mrs. Bonnie Hayden and Mr. Steve Williams. From the class of 2015, Mr. Bruce Riley. From the class of 2016, Mrs. Debbie Bosler. Johnny Hughes and Mr. Mark Wolkow. From the class of 2017, Ms. Karen Carey, Bob McCone, and representing the Dang siblings, Mrs. Bonton Miller, Mrs. Danton Dang, Mr. Min Tri Dang, and Mrs. Sarah Dang. I really practiced those names. From the class of 2018, Rob Bruce Sr. and Dr. Kenny Messman. From the class of 2019, Mr. Pat Pollard and Ms. Gina Abate. From the combined classes of 2021 and 2020, Mr. Tom McShane, Mr. Dennis Compton, Mr. Tom Konjerski. From the class of 2022, Dr. David Richmond and Mr. George Francher. From the class of 2022, Bob Fisher. And finally, the class of 2023, Mr. Michael Brown and Ms. Martha Hansen. Is there any of our Hall of Famers I may have missed? Keith. We have Keith. Will you all please stand? Thanks for being here. Face the camera, wave. Everybody, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much. On stage, you've met the Edgewood High Alumni Association founding president, Mrs. Helen Morrison, and current president, Karen Carey. Now also, greet, please, Alumni Association Vice President Stephen White, who is volunteering to work the slides tonight. Stephen, we appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Just a minute. Along with our in-school Hall of Fame liaisons, Assistant Principal Josh Klemmer, and Athletic Director Sarah Friedman. And a very special treat for us this evening, we have this year's Student Government President, Julia Elia. Now you can come. We're so pleased to have you here. We are also honored to have some elected officials and government leaders here to pay tribute to our inductees. I notice a few have not been able to make it, and I know, and you'll understand, there are lots of commitments on a Wednesday evening, and everybody's really literally stretching themselves. So they may be able to, sneak in here a little bit later. But who said yes? Board of Delegation Education member Ms. Denise Perry. From our state delegation, representing a former alumni, Delegate Andre Johnson, is Ms. Sarah Bryce. From our county council is the county council president, Mr. Pat Vincenti, and his legislative aide, Samantha Harris, and also there will be Councilman Dion Guthrie. And representing Executive Bob Casserly is Ms. Cindy Mumby. Let's all give them a hand. Before we introduce our Hall of Fame class of 2024, I'd like to take an opportunity for you to join with me in honoring those in our Hall of Fame who were either inducted posthumously or who have passed away in the years following their induction. They are Mr. Anthony Tony Mioli, Dr. Earl J. Lightcap, Mr. Lambert E. Bud Coakley, Mr. John C. Bowman, Mrs. Rose Ellen Goodrich Richardson, Mr. James R. Mertza, Mr. William P. Doc McShane, Mr. Robert W. Bobby Coombs, Sr., General Warren E. Phipps, Jr., Mr. Forrest A. Wiest, Mr. Edward L. Eddie Kimmel, Mr. Lawrence A. Larry Melfa, Ms. Dolores R. Simmons, Sheriff Theodore Ted Moyer, Mrs. Linda A. Foster Dusa, and Mr. Robert S. Bob Green. Please join me in a moment of silence in memory of these outstanding men and women. So in preparation for today, I asked our honorees to do a little reflecting about their days at Edgewood. When I asked them for some adjectives that best describe them back in the day, they shared these descriptors: happy, carefree, hopeful; reserved, studious, involved; dedicated, hardworking, professional, courteous, respectful, personable, comic, athletic, competitive. Now, I know there are those of you sitting out there who know these people really well, and you know who said what, okay? But we're going to find out a little bit more about that later. Each of these fine people carved out a unique niche in our hallowed halls, whether musically inclined, athletic, studious, star-studded, or a dedicated coach and teacher. Each treasures their memories of Edgewood High. To a person, they attribute their success to the help, support, and guidance of their families and key members of Edgewood High School staff. Now, to streamline our presentation process, our first inductee will be presented with each award individually. The awards of all remaining honorees will be combined and presented to them as a packet at the conclusion of the ceremony. Principal McMichael will place the Hall of Fame medallion around the neck of each honoree. So I had a little a suggestion as people were coming in. You know, there's always going to be something that's unexpected. I think this one's a treat. So without having formally been written down in my notes here, we do have, for the very first inductee, a very special relative, and that's something that's you're going to see as a strain throughout our ceremony, is a lot of special relationships tonight. Why don't you keep an eye out for that? This first inductee's first cousin is here to say just a little bit about him, and I'm going to introduce him now. Retired U.S. Marshal, Johnny Hughes.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. To God be the glory for all of you and all the members on stage. Before I speak about my cousin, Richard Hughes, I just want to mention, I was just looking at Tony Mioli's photo out front, an alumni member from the community who used to own McDonald's here in Edgewood, and he hired so many Edgewood High School personnel. Good and godly man. He was on our Charlie Rowley board, community service, and he did so much for the community, a visionary, a luminary, as you all know, and he's now in the presence of Jesus. So miss him, but we'll see him down the road. Richard Hughes, I grew up with him. He's now a dentist. He used to play doctor growing up. He's about 6 years younger than me, and they always wanted me to open my mouth, and some of the older guys, even when he was a little guy, he would take the fish pliers and try to fool around with us, so I knew he was going to be a doctor or a dentist. But anyway, he was always doing something in the community. In Magnolia back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, a very close community. And Richard was always helping people. He was always very active in Sunday school and the church, and just doing a lot for my grandparents. My granddad was a Methodist minister of Magnolia Methodist Church, and he was always helping them out. And he did so much for the people in the community that just a good and godly man. And it talks about in the Bible, Galatians 6:2, that we're to carry each other's burdens, and this way we will be doing the work of Jesus. And that's exactly what Richard did. Where we see no way, you know, God always makes a way when we're faithful, thankful, and prayerful. So thank you for the opportunity. God bless you all and your families. And Rick.
Our distinguished presenter presenting for the second time for the Hall of Fame, our next inductee, is a retired Rear Admiral Rick Porterfield, who made a name for himself here, first on the athletic fields as an outstanding three-sport athlete, and in the classroom as a scholar. He devoted much of his working life to serving our country in the U.S. Navy, The Porterfield family was a pillar of strength in the Edgewood community during the 1960s and 1970s. Admiral Porterfield is honored to introduce you to our first Hall of Fame recipient, Admiral Porterfield.
Well, good evening, and I want to thank Helen and Don Morrison for their labor of love that makes all of this possible each year. So they are always working in the quiet recesses of the ceremony, but without their inspiration and hard work, this doesn't happen. Richard Hughes is one of those individuals from Edgewood High School that is what I will describe a person of consequence. And when we were arcing around the halls of the old building, probably none of us ever realized how far we would go. But as was just described, the impetus, the motivation, and the compassion and kindness that was shown to us by the staff here is what took us out of our comfort zone and gave us that far-reaching vision to achieve something. Now, Dr. Hughes, his extensive accomplishments and achievements throughout his life are well explained in the program, so I'm not going to do a repeat of any of that. I will tell you that Martha Hanson and I got together and said, we'd like to nominate some additional people from our class, 1968. And so Richard's the first person that came to mind. So I would say that he was not an exemplary scholar here. He was pretty much of a slacker. But he was wicked smart. He had a motivation one day with an encounter with a guidance counselor that spurred him on to great things in the medical and dental fields. He also had a strong work ethic and a strong family, as described by his cousin Johnny. And I would say that he understands the science behind all of the dentistry, the procedures, the whole thing that he does as a dentist. He actually understands that. I don't. So if you have a question about what any of that means, you can ask him. I have no clue. Now, I do know some things about this man, and here's why Martha and I got together and said, we've got to pick Richard Hughes. First of all, he's compassionate. He's kind, he's thoughtful, he's considerate. He's a great boss. I actually asked his staff, as he's currently still working as a dentist, and they're the ones who told me he was a great boss. He's a doting father and husband. And he asks about my family every time we meet, every time. And you may want to know why I know all that. Well, he's my dentist. So that's why he can't retire. So please join me in a round of applause for Dr. Richard Hughes, an outstanding graduate of Edgewood High School, and someone that takes care of his patients, takes care of his family, and has taken care of the United States through his service in the Army, and just a really, really fabulous person. So join me in welcoming Richard.
So this is a beautiful letter plaque that each recipient receives. And Assistant Principal Josh Clemmer and Julia Elia, the president of our student government, will present this. And you can just turn around and face there. You go. There you go. I'm going to hold your things over here for you, Dr. Hughes.
Okay, thank you.
Karen? Nope, not yet. You got a whole bunch more
okay.
coming.
Okay.
There's a lot coming. And this is the wall plaque. If you haven't had a chance to peruse the wall plaque outside as you come in, please do so this evening. People are honored to have their plaques portrayed. And this one is being presented by Karen Carey, the president of the Alumni Association.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm going to put this over here for you.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to give these back to you as soon as you're ready to speak.
All right.
Okay. It's hard being first. Okay, this, because Sarah Bice is not here, I'm just going to, this is a handsome proclamation. It's an official citation. It says, "We hereby known to all that sincerest congratulations are offered to Dr. E. Richard Hughes." This is from the State Senate of Maryland.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And filling in for the House of Delegates, this is the Harford County, Maryland proclamation that gives you recognition for your service to the community and to Edgewood High School.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Another one?
I do have a person here to present this. So I have Cindy Mumby, who is here on behalf of the county executive with his proclamation. Did you want to share what's inside?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You're on.
Okay, I'm on. Okay. Well, I'm humbled and honored to be here, and I still don't feel deserving of this honor, but anyway, but I thank the principal and the staff and the Morrisons for putting together this award. And I thank Martha and Rick and Johnny for their support for obtaining this award. Like Rick said, I did have an encounter with Mr. Tadero senior year, and I had a meeting with him to discuss my future. And he asked me, so what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be a dentist. So he pulls out my transcript, and he started laughing. He said, you're not college material. He says, you might want to think about becoming a stonecutter. So just remember this for any of you teachers out there, that sometimes you might have a slacker or someone just may not be quite inspired or motivated, but they have the talent. You just can't tell what they're going to do later on. But anyway, long story short, I went to college. I turned over my lack of study habits and became a scholar, worked very hard, and gained admissions to dental school. But I want to thank some people along the way that made this happen, and some particular events, and I'm going to talk about that first, what motivated me to become a dentist. And I remember my sister Joyce was lying on the sofa, suffering from an abscessed tooth, and she was swollen, her face looked red, and I was home with the flu, or Asian flu, or something like that at the time, and it just really struck a chord with me. I said, I'm going to help her, help people like her. Anyway, so fast forward, I want to thank and give tribute to some Edgewood High School, actually elementary school teachers, Mrs. Pritchard, Ward, and Cobb. They were fantastic teachers, and junior high teachers that we had in the wing in the old school, Mrs. Scarborough, Dinsmore, and Mr. Adams. They were all great teachers. And here at Edgewood, Mr. Pasquale, Coakley, and Grafton, Lowe, Griffin, Howard, Scollins, Mace, Webb, and Wasilewski, Marzin, and Mrs. Janes, and Mrs. Barker is in the audience. And Mr. Marzin, I never took any of his classes, but he always admired the way he coached his team and managed his team. He was quite the gentleman. Not to say that the other ones weren't, but he was a superb person. And I want to pay tribute to my scout leaders and also Dr. Reynolds, who was my family dentist. He was a great motivation for me to become a doc. He was a good role model. He gave me some, words of wisdom along the way about what courses to take and the sequence and such like that. He's very, very helpful. I thank some of the faculty members in dental school, Dr. Jameson and Dr. Lubavitch. And Lubavitch he's like a tall Clint Eastwood kind of guy. Looked just like Clint Eastwood, but he was a consummate prosthodontist. And another event that happened along the way, I had a patient named Alan Giziano. He's a Sicilian. He moved down from Brooklyn to Northern Virginia, where I practice. And his plight got me into implant dentistry. And he just described about the pain and suffering he had with his prosthesis. So that guided me to help change that. And I thank my family and also thank my mentor, who's deceased now, Dr. Leonard Linkow. I worked in his office for 3 years in Manhattan, and he's the only dentist that's ever been nominated for the Nobel Prize in Medicine and Physiology, and the only Jewish doctor that I know of that's received an apostolic blessing from the Pope. And it was quite the practice. And my better half, Dr. Cindy Vu. And I met Cindy, she was a dental student at Howard, and I was teaching in their implant program, and I met her again later on. I forgot all about her. And anyway, the rest is history, and she's a great motivator, inspire, and good person. And I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Dr. Hughes. Well, Scott Elliott, who's not here, was supposed to be introducing the next honoree, and that falls to me. And I'm thrilled because I nominated her. So some of these words are Scott's, and I'll let you know which ones are his. And I know he's going to be here later, Claudia, because he wants to give you a big hug. Claudia Freeman was one of those kids in school that you wanted to hate because she was so successful. A cheerleader, a key drama club participant, a student council leader, and she was so popular, she also participated in the Miss Edgewood High School pageant and won that year, in her senior year. Now, what you don't know is I was in the same pageant. As a junior, I didn't place, but I had a great time. And I loved Claudia. You really did not want to hate her because she understood the concept of caring about all those around you. Claudia was just a bright spot. She was a lot of fun, still is. I feel like I'm talking about her in the past. I kind of am. That beautiful smile she still has. It's a spirit that she carried with her into her life's work. As the now retired business development director for the Aberdeen Proving Ground Federal Credit Union. Now this is where Scott is talking, and he says that Claudia and he served together on various nonprofit boards across Harford County. What they had in common was the belief that you give back. And if you know Scott, you know how involved he is in the community and how much he gives back. You serve your community, and you fight for those underserved and underprivileged in your community. We both learned this while at Edgewood High and practiced it our entire careers. Claudia never forgot where she came from. While winning awards for the quality of her work with APG FCU, she used her position to benefit her alma mater as a major contributor to the development of our beloved Academy of Finance at Edgewood High School. Not only that, but she employed Edgewood High students who were interested in business careers in their summer interns. And she provided hands-on support for remedial students, raised money for students who needed help, and made contributions that continued to have an impact beyond her days as a professional. The list of organizations to which she belonged and the awards she won would take more time than we have to list. One in particular being chosen the Harford County Chamber of Commerce Member of the Year. It shows you the kind of respect she engendered among the business leader of the county. Claudia Freeman Holman is an ideal addition to the Edgewood High School Hall of Fame. A woman who showed it's not about who you are, but what you can give to make your part of the world a better place. Please help me welcome Claudia Freeman Holman as a member of the Edgewood High School Hall of Fame.
Well, I have absolutely nothing prepared, but I'll speak off the cuff as I usually do. I just want to say how honored I am, and I keep thinking they're going to change their mind, but it's too late because I already have this, so too bad. But the 4 years that I spent at Edgewood High School were some of the best years of my life. And I truly mean that because I came away from the high school with a wonderful education, wonderful memories, and friends that have lasted all these years. I cannot tell you how many of my classmates and I stay in touch with each other and reminisce about the old days. It's just wonderful. And we've got Edgewood High School to thank for that. Now, I've always been proud to be a graduate of Edgewood High School, and I've always told everyone so readily what a wonderful school it is, what a wonderful school it was, and will continue to be. Both my children graduated from here. They've received wonderful educations and have gone on to be very successful in their careers. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope I do you proud, and I don't really know why I'm here with this wonderful group of people other than just trying to serve the community in which I live. And so I thank you again, and good night.
Our third presenter graduated from Edgewood High School in 1981. He spent 9 years at Beller High as a math teacher and made a successful transition from the classroom to school counselor, serving 27 years in that role. In 2015, he was inducted into the Edgewood High School Hall of Fame. Bruce has a unique and special relationship with the next inductee, one I believe he will take great pride and pleasure in sharing with you. Mr. Riley.
A unique relationship, huh? Yeah, how about that? So I'm humbled to be standing before you this evening and introducing our next class of 2024 member. He's my older brother, and I have told myself several times to be careful and stay on the script because he has the last word, so I don't want to go off the script too much. So, for those of you who know Chip, which many of you have known him since he's been, in diapers, so to speak. But if you know Chip, you know that he's an original. He's a one-of-a-kind. And in school, he was a three-sport athlete, and he was a leader. He always had a passion for the fire service. And that certainly was reflective of the influence that our father, Charlie Riley, had on him to go into the fire service. So he spent 25 years working for the Baltimore County Fire Department in areas like being a fire marshal and a fire investigator. And before that, he was serving as a volunteer with the local Abingdon Fire Company, and he rose to the rank of captain while serving as a volunteer. Chip is passionate about everything he does. Some may remember him as the Baltimore Ravens superfan, titled Fired Up, where he dressed in outlandish costumes and supported the Ravens to the extent that he was chosen to be a member of the Ultimate Fan Hall of Fame. What a lot of people don't know is that he used that platform to raise money for worthwhile causes. He joined many organizations and was instrumental in helping friends of ours and me in founding the Charlie Riley Community Service Scholarship Foundation 18 years ago. In November, we are joyfully celebrating giving our 400th scholarship, and it'd be total of over $500,000 once we award those. So that group is very near and dear to his heart because, again, it's reflective of who our father was, and that is his hero. I'm sure you might hear about that. So he demonstrates his love for Sherry and our family continuously. I get phone calls a lot from him on, how was your doctor appointment? Be careful. Don't do anything. It doesn't always mean that I will do what he says, but I know that he's concerned and enjoys, our family and Sherry. But the thing that means the most to him now is his faith. Chip has spent his life not only as a member of the church, but as a doer of the word from the book of James in the Bible. He and Sherry, his wife, are involved in a ministry that helps men and women through difficult times. He's a committed member of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And Chip is a founding member of a group that serves meals to homeless and needy folks in the Route 40 area twice a week. For the past decade, he has been a part of a small group helping to serve and provide meals and fellowship to many of the Edgewood High School football players. He can even be seen on Friday nights operating the video camera in the end zone. A lonely position down there sometimes, but he does that on Friday evenings. I could go on for an hour telling you why Chip is a man to be admired. Instead, I will say, although he's my biological brother, the joy for us is that we are brothers in Christ. So won't you please join me in congratulating my brother, Charles A. Chip Riley, as he joins the almost 100 others that have been selected to join the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Chip.
Yeah, you're right. You're going to hear some of the same things, Bruce. Let me get, first of all, I didn't need this back in 1977, my glasses. Who would have funked this? Thank you, Bruce. Sherry said a couple times coming down the road today, and I've thought of Mom and Dad quite a bit today. I prepared a speech, so I'm going to read it verbatim. And you're going to hear a lot of us and we. I'll say a lot of that referring to Bruce and I. So when you hear us and we, that's what I mean. First and foremost, I'm going to give all the honor and glory to God and our Lord Savior Jesus Christ. Because of them, I'm standing before you today. To the veteran Hall of Famers, I'm so humbled but honored to be standing here before you tonight as a new member of the Edgewood High School Hall of Fame. I could have never imagined this great honor happening in 1977, and that's a fact. But our lives take us down many paths, and there are many people who impact and help us to become who we are. This is going to be tough. Charlie and Sis Riley, our parents, they were simply the best. They were my heroes in life, and yes, you heard it again, Bruce. They were truly my hero. They started and laid down an amazing Christian-based foundation of who we are to be and how to serve. Both our parents were doers of the word from the book of James, chapter 1, verses 22 through 25. We were taught, don't just talk the talk, but walk the walk. Dad was one of our Little League coaches here in Edgewood, and he would always say to Bruce and I, "You don't need to tell anyone how great you are, but let your bat and glove tell them how good you are." I've always tried to live by that standard my entire life, and Bruce and I had two great examples in life that taught us the definition of serving others. To the Edgewood and Abingdon communities, you embraced us and made our family a part of yours. From Little League, the fire service, to the school system, you as a community have supported and made us a better family. We have lovingly served you and will continue to positively impact where needed. Thank you, and God bless each and every one of you out there. You know who you are. To the teachers and coaches of Edgewood High School, thank you for your support and being the educational foundation of my early life. You showed me winning was important, but the lessons in losing will teach you and you how to handle the ups and downs in life. Paul Metzger, thank you for giving me hope going into my senior year and for inspiring me to go after my goals. My brother Bruce and my sister-in-law Suzanne, thank you for being there for Sherry and I, for being role models of Christian life and how to serve. Bruce, you are my younger brother, but I've always looked up to you and your spiritual leadership in and around our community. I've always been honored to tell people Bruce Riley is my brother. Both Sherry and I love you very much. Brian Donnelly, Bruce and I have always thought of you as a brother, a Christian brother. You and Bruce have shown me by example how to serve our world. As Proverbs 27:17 says, iron sharpens iron, and that is so true. That's what you both do for me. It keeps me serving others and loving every moment of it. To my wife, Sherry, and this is the truth, you are literally the person that needs to be standing up here instead of me. You not only show me what love is, you show me by example every day how to serve others. She has always put others before her own needs. They always say there's a great woman behind all good men. That has never been more true than with you, Sherry. We make a great team. I love nothing more than to serve others with you by my side. I love you very much. In closing, I am humbled and honored to be standing here tonight with Claudia, Richard, Robert, and Robert, to be called an Edgewood High School Hall of Famer. Thank you, and remember, we all are called to serve others in need. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
Chip's wearing his dad's tie tonight. You look really handsome, Chip. A career educator, Robert G. Bruce Sr., retired from his position as instrumental music teacher at Edgewood High School. So respected was he that in 2018, he was inducted into the Edgewood High School Hall of Fame. Mr. Bruce played a major role in the shaping of our next Hall of Fame honoree. Remember now, we're keeping it all in the family. This was not as his coach or teacher or mentor, but in another very special capacity. I introduce you to Mr. Bruce Sr.
You might be expecting an emotional tribute from a proud father. I hope you're right about the tribute part. The reward of parenthood is seeing your child become an adult, leading a good life, successful and yet humble. It's especially rewarding when your children are recognized by others for their accomplishments. That's what makes tonight so special. As the program says, Rob was co-valedictorian at EHS, then graduated from Penn State at State College with honors and distinction. I can tell you he got a head start with academic success largely because of his older sister, Sarah, who loved school so much that as soon as she got home from school, wanted to play school. Of course, she was a teacher, but at 5, Rob was already learning Sarah's second grade curriculum. As he got older, Rob's reserved nature often disguised his competitive side. This served him well as a member of the golf and tennis teams, and especially as captain of the academic team, whose winning reputation promoted Edgewood High School. Rob played French horn in the EHS, all-county, and all-state bands. But when we had no incoming bass player and faced canceling jazz band for the next school year, he selflessly took it upon himself to learn the bass guitar during the summer before his sophomore year. His musical talent showed as he became very accomplished in a short period of time, literally saving jazz band for us that year through a senior year. After Penn State, Rob was hired by Chevron Texaco as an engineer in California. He worked in the desert oil fields, calculating the amount of steam needed to extract oil from the sand. He needed to be precise to keep his fellow workers safe from possible explosions. While there, he took part in both the youth mentoring programs and won 3 Outstanding Contributor awards. He then switched gears and coastlines to earn his MBA at MIT. There he wrote the business plan for Smart Cells, a diabetes treatment, winning the grand prize in the MIT 50K entrepreneurship competition. In his spare time, Rob rode with the MIT club crew and also got his bass guitar out again to play with the cover band Sloan second-year graduate students traditionally form. Today, as the chief investment officer, Rob manages large amounts of money. But as always, he's not just about business. In 2019, he made a special trip from Boston to EHS to speak to students in the Academy of Finance. Following his presentation, one of the students decided to test Rob by asking what he thought about the upcoming playoff series between the Celtics and the Bucks. Rob answered, "I think the Celtics are great, but I don't think they're going to be able to handle Giannis." The student said to the class, "He can manage my money." As notable as his achievements are, his mother and I are even more proud of the man he's become. Please help me congratulate my son and member of our school's Hall of Fame, Mr. Robert G. Rob Bruce Jr.
Thank you. I wish I had known that the pictures are going to be projected in front of me, so I hope you enjoy my flutophone recital from the 3rd grade. I'm sure all sorts of embarrassing moments are flashing up there as I speak. Anyway, so I was thinking yesterday, last time I gave a speech was graduation just about 30 years ago, which is hard to believe. And the good thing is I'm not nervous like I was back then, so hopefully I can avoid some verbal flubs. I can't say I was as lucky in my graduation speech where in the middle, the word however came out of my mouth more like, which I don't know, the closest thing I think of is the Gabby Hayes character from Blazing Saddles, if that reference rings a bell with people. Anyway, so I first want to thank all of you for this honor. It really means a lot to me to join such a distinguished group of EHS alumni. I consider myself very fortunate for the education I received here at Edgewood. I went from Deerfield all the way through 12th grade here. I had fortunate to be taught by a number of great teachers, many of whom are actually in the Hall of Fame themselves. My dad, obviously, who spoke ahead of me. Mr. Williams, who was principal from 6th through 12th grade, is here, so a special shout out to him. Doug Johnson and John Lowe are also Hall of Fame members. Other teachers, so I'm sorry I'm going to forget all the names, but Terry Riley, Tom Howard, Mike McAvoy, Mr. Hartigan, I forget his first name, sorry, many others. But I consider myself very lucky to have the quality teachers that I had while I was here. And I also, I think, would be remiss if I didn't thank my teachers at home. So not only my dad, who actually was my teacher for 5 years, so 6th grade band, and then all through high school. My sister had the pleasure of having him straight 6th through 12th. I won't speak for her how that was. My mom, who was probably one of my first teachers, beyond just reading me, Dr. Seuss's Bee Book, which I still remember, she put index cards around the house on different objects, so I learned vocabulary at a young age. I'm not even sure if I was talking yet. I was a late talker, like after 3 years old. And then did we lose this? I think my dad stole my thunder with telling the story about Sarah, who was also my teacher at a young age. We lost it, right? Okay. Should I just keep yelling? All right. I think I can project, so if you can't hear me, just let me know. So yeah, my sister was a teacher, and I was going to close. I was debating, should I go like the inspirational route or something like funny. I'm not really good with the sappy stuff. Spoiler alert: the adjective reserved, that was me, right? So I'll try a funny story, which was the end of first day of elementary school. My dad picks me up from school. He asked me how my day was, and I said fine. Now, at the time, he didn't know I would say that exact thing for the next 12 years, right? Again, I'm reserved, but he was a little concerned. And second day, same thing, fine. Third day, I say it again, and all right, perfect for the punchline. So third day, he says, all right, what's going on? Like, did you have a bad day? Do you not like school? My response was, well, what kind of job can I get with the least amount of schooling? and I think my dad, who's very concerned at this point, says, you're trying to like sway me away from this path, garbage man. I said, well, that's what I want to be when I grow up. So everybody else wanted to be a cop, a policeman, a firefighter, a Major League Baseball player. I wanted to be a garbage man. It's a noble profession. I don't mean to slight anybody who may be in the waste management industry. I can tell you from seeing CFOs and CEOs of these publicly traded waste companies and their big fat Rolexes, there's plenty of money to be made in garbage. But I would say that I'm very thankful for both my family and all the teachers that I had at Edgewood from encouraged me to aim maybe a little higher and go beyond just high school. So thank you very much.
Our final presenter of the evening is a 2016 Edgewood High School Hall of Fame inductee and former Edgewood High School athletic director. Currently, she is Harford County's Supervisor of Interscholastic Athletics. This is Debbie Bosler.
Well, it is my true honor to introduce a pillar of our community, Mr. Bob Slagle. With a dedicated 30-year career at Aberdeen and Edgewood High School, Bob has left an indelible mark on many students and athletes. As a respected social studies teacher, coach, and athletic director, Bob transformed the Rams basketball program during his 15 years at Edgewood. He took a team that had recorded only one winning season in the decade before and led them to 7 regional titles and 1 state championship. But beyond the accolades, Coach Slagle prided himself on developing young boys into young men of character. As athletic director, Bob's commitment to the Edgewood community was evident. This role demands passion, dedication, and countless hours spent mentoring teachers, guiding student athletes, and managing the never-ending details of every athletic event. Bob not only fulfilled these responsibilities, but also played a crucial role in developing the Upper Chesapeake Bay Athletic Conference, which still exists today, which fosters a collaboration between Cecil and Harford County. Bob has been a mentor to many, always making time to lend an ear or offer guidance. His mild-mannered leadership exemplifies what it means to serve. He taught so many that true success lies not in our own accomplishments, but in how we help others achieve their goals. Personally, I can attest to the profound impact he had on my career. It was Bob who introduced me to the role of athletic director. This is an opportunity that I had never considered prior to him introducing me to it. And 26 years later, I am proud to serve as the supervisor of athletics for Harford County Public Schools, all because he believed in me. Bob Slagle is the kind of person who never sought credit for himself. He simply loves seeing others succeed. It is for these reasons, and so many more, that he truly belongs in the Edgewood High School Hall of Fame. It is my pleasure to be the first to introduce him as one of our 5 new members whose plaque will join those other distinguished individuals. Please join me in welcoming Bob Slagle to the podium.
Thank you, Debbie, for those very kind words. I appreciate them much. I want to thank the Edgewood High School Alumni Association and the Hall of Fame members for nominating me for inclusion in this select group of EHS alumni, staff, and dedicated community supporters. I'm humbled and deeply honored to be numbered among that roster of so many talented individuals who have helped make Edgewood High School the great academic institution that it is and always has been. They have made Edgewood a school that should be respected for what it does throughout the entire Harford County community. I'm also grateful to many people who are in the Hall of Fame, so many that I'm not going to name anyone this time for fear that I will leave somebody out. But there are many of them who have mentored me and helped me become the person that I have. As one of the lucky individuals in the world who grew up knowing exactly what he wanted to do from a very early age, I have had a lot of people who have helped me get there. It starts with my parents. My father, Bob, an engineer, who not only taught me his love of sports, but also put his mechanical skills on how to break a sport and a skill up that could be taught. Unfortunately for him, I never inherited his mechanical skills, but I did learn what to do on a field and in a court. My mother, Arlene, taught me a love of education and learning, particularly history. And I was able to apply these and knew that I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. I had a guidance counselor in high school who suggested to me that I might want to go to Colgate University because they had a program, a 5-year master's program, where you could get a master's of teaching an academic subject and also physical education. I accepted, went, enjoyed it, got the opportunity to be an assistant basketball coach and a student director of the the intramural program. In addition, my 2 younger siblings were always there to encourage me. My sister Janet and her husband Fred, who came in from Minnesota for this ceremony, have been constant supporters of all of my athletic activities. Janet did try the coaching bit right out of college, but then decided she would have much better success working as a speech pathologist in the Twin Cities of Minnesota. Smart decision on her part. My younger brother, who was 9 years younger than I, was my first guinea pig on how to on coaching. We did all kinds of things along those lines, football, baseball, and so on and so forth. So, of course, he went and became an All-American soccer goalie and then a nationally renowned soccer coach at Davidson College and elsewhere. Unfortunately, he cannot be here as he passed away 5 years ago, a blow to all of us at that particular point. After teaching for 5 years in upstate New York, the love of the Orioles, the Colts, and the Bullets, I came down here. Got a job at a school slightly up the road here, and had a great 15 years there. I had a chance to compete against and learn the skills that were down here at Edgewood. And then the principal at Edgewood, Mr. Carl Roberts, said, "Would you like to be a social studies teacher and men's basketball coach at Edgewood?" It was very easy for me to say yes, and as they say, the rest is history. While here, there were a lot of people I could thank. I found a community that was led by great administrators. Not only did they have the best interest of their students at heart, but they also loved sports as much as I did. And that made it easy for us to do the things we thought we needed to do at that point. We had a bunch of teachers, many of them in here now, who were veteran and great. So good, so great, that most of them got promoted up to the Board of Education to be supervisors and officials there, directors up there. But fortunately, that same group of administrators that I talked about hired an incredible group of younger teacher coaches, one of whom introduced me, several sitting out here, who were able to continue the tradition of what Edgewood athletics was supposed to be about. And they certainly made the job of an athletic director much, much better. We had a great support staff. We had great community support. Anything that we needed, we were able to get. But the most important thing of any teacher, of course, are your students. And we had an incredible, diverse group of students. In my case, a bunch of student athletes, particularly basketball players, who I was able to convince that they really could be better than they even thought they could be. And they made life really easy for me. Now, of course, it was capped, as I think everybody would know, when they were able to win the ultimate prize in 1997 by winning the men's basketball championship for the MPSSAA. I have been very, very lucky. I am honored to be inducted with this great group of people here, and I want to thank the Alumni Association for this ceremony and for this honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for joining us on this Red Letter Day. Before we close, I'd like to extend a special thanks to Mr. Don Morrison for his tireless dedication and commitment to the Hall of Fame of Edgewood High School. The chairperson of the Hall of Fame Planning Committee, he is the mastermind behind today's event. Please join me in thanking Don and the entire Hall of Fame Planning Committee. Becoming a lifetime member of Edgewood High School's Hall of Fame is special. There is no qualifying exam or rubric or application process. Membership can't be sought, but it is most definitely earned. Membership to the Hall of Fame represents excellence, commitment, self-worth, sacrifice, and true grit. Edgewood High is an amazing, memorable place from which to grow and prosper. Our biggest common denominators remain love of community, love of country, love of family, and love of fellow man. Calvin Coolidge once said, "No person was ever honored for what he received. Honor has been the reward for what he gave." Thank you, Richard, Claudia, Chip, Rob, and Bob, for all you have given to the community, for enriching the lives of those you have served, and for representing Edgewood High School with excellence. And that concludes our ceremony. I know that there are probably lots of people wanting to take pictures and things. It's a wonderful opportunity to do that while they're still here. And we're going to move over to the cafeteria where there's some light refreshments and celebrate. Thank you all for coming. God bless you. Have a great evening.